How about the moon? You like the moon there? How about I
Mary, you want the moon?
Oh, stay there. I'll get it for you. That's so good. That's such a good old little trick they did.
Have you seen It's a Wonderful Life?
I have, yes, of course,
Recently?
of course. That's my dad's favorite movie.
That's
Number one.
It's a Wonderful Life is your dad's favorite movie?
Yes, always has been. Every time I've ever heard, he says, "It's a Wonderful Life." Yeah.
Is it your favorite movie?
No, it's a great movie.
You hate Jimmy Stewart. You hate old movies.
No, I promise.
And you
Mr.
hate
Stewart.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's on the wall. He's up. We got Silverstage. I played George Bailey, but I didn't do the voice.
Oh,
I didn't.
I want to live.
No, I just played it as myself, or as a version of myself.
Sure.
We have begun. This is Casey. Oh shoot! How do you pronounce your last name?
Give it a shot.
Casey, Moimai.
Come on. That's not your best.
Casey Moine. Casey Mayonnaise. Casey Mayonnaise.
Maybe this was your best.
No, this is fair. So basically, as we've established, I'm the worst host. Because the first step of every podcast is to insult your guest.
I agree.
But if you want, you can return the favor.
Sure, this is Hunter Jones-Dones.
Hunter Jones-Dones.
Yeah.
Did
I get that wrong?
I would dig having a last name of Jones-Dones.
Jones-Dones is not too bad. Okay. It's Maione, by the way.
Maione.
Like my own knee.
My own knee. I should have known this by now. We're in a show together.
Yeah, I didn't know everyone's names for the first couple weeks, actually.
Yeah.
Remember we had those name tags?
I do remember the name
plates?
tags. We only had them for one day.
I think it was the one day, and then we sort of did a side with them.
So,
supposed to know everyone's
who
name.
are you playing, Casey Moyene? Moyene.
If you want to be really Italian, you can do Maione.
Maione.
Maione, that's right.
Maione.
Yes. I play the role of Claudio. Does Claudio have a last name? No last names.
Claudio Cludio.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Is Cludio.
Thank you, C. Cole.
Right.
Ooh, come see the play to see what I mean.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yes, I play the noble Claudio, who in the feature of a lamb does the feats of a lion.
That's one of your lines?
No, that's what Baraccio says as he's introducing.
That's how he describes you?
Yeah, you know how every good play starts with describing the characters you're going to meet.
Right. So Claudio, not a role you've played before?
Correct. Yeah.
First time playing Claudio. And is this like your type?
I'm always a villain.
So not your type.
Not necessarily. Well, Claudio's not really... he does the most villainous thing in the play, which is, spoiler alert for Much Ado Not Knowers, he kind of embarrasses hero, shames her publicly at their wedding.
Yeah, it's pretty relentlessly horrible.
That sucks. Yeah.
But I wouldn't call your character a villain.
No, he gets misled, right. He just does the most villainous thing that we see.
He gets misled and then acts out like a big old baby.
Like a baby. Yeah. Great outlet for me to...
How is it playing a baby? Great.
I just be myself,
Fantastic.
I'm just myself up there, and it feels pretty natural.
Yeah. Great. But also, actually, Claudio, great role in Shakespeare's canon. I mean, he's like the romantic, like classical character who gets into the worst mishaps, and he treats hero pretty horribly at one point, but it is because of being misled by the villain. The show is literally called Much Ado About Nothing. Like, it's a lot of misunderstandings about nothing in the end. It really is an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
But by Shakespeare.
And I think it's funny. I don't feel like I've ever been challenged so much in a Shakespeare role, at least. I've played minor characters, a villain here or there, but to go up and down the emotional spectrum as Claudio is something I don't think I've done a lot on stage, to be honest. Maybe that's my own skills I'm dissing. But no, he just comes in. He's like, it's it's very emotional and passionate, and it's high highs and very low lows. So it's been fun for me to kind of find
mood
moments
swings
of that.
are intense.
Mood swings,
with
exactly.
Your character.
Yes,
It's fun. It's fun to it's fun to watch for sure. There are scenes where your character is devastated, and then he just starts goofing off with the bros.
dude, right? And the way to like the end scene. Oh, I'm spoilers again.
Spoilers for
But there's
Shakespeare.
just flips between like, oh well, I feel bad, and then it kind of goes quickly into I'm gonna tease you because we're best buddies.
Right.
It's a very interesting.
Yeah, the
place.
shifts are dramatic.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I get to act alongside you quite a bit. I get to play Benedick, which is so fun.
Yeah.
And I have played Claudio in small doses before. I performed with Woodstock Shakespeare players last year, doing Shakespeare in the Park, and I got to play Claudio for 2 different scenes. And it was fun. I didn't play it in any way like you play it. I quite love what you've discovered in the character. I played it so straight and so, like... not funny. My Claudio wasn't entertaining to watch. I think I played the straight man and let everybody else around me be the entertainment. And now having watched you, I'm like, I wish I could go back and change some things.
That's interesting. Makes me think of just one of my favorite Shakespeare anecdotes, or just a teaching from a teacher I got, was that the language is not precious. That like
Sure.
there's a tendency to be like. I got an example for it too. My line, "Can the world buy such a jewel?" early on, right? I feel like only recently did I kind of let go of this idea of, like, this is the biggest moment, because I feel like what plays better has been a sort of like, genuinely, can the world buy such a jewel? Like, I really dive into it, as opposed to like smatter this idea of what you're going for with like the.
Right.
Not that that's a wrong answer necessarily, but I felt a clearer idea in my head now that I have let go of the.
So in Shakespeare, if say there's a line, "Where doth thou go?" You could deliver that in this heightened poetic, "Where doth thou go?"
Sure, it's almost what
Or
we
you could
expect,
ask the
right?
question, "Where doth thou go?"
Mm-hmm.
Where doth thou go?
Where doth thou go?
Where doth thou go?
Right. Well, we know comedy on stage is tragedy for those characters, right? So the overplaying stuff.
Yeah. I find Shakespeare significantly easier to perform when I talk normally, when I talk like a human currently talks.
Yep.
So unless I'm trying to portray in a period accurate, like how they would have said it in the 1600s, then I throw all that out. David Tennant's one of my biggest inspirations in this, because I just want to ask a question in the way that I'm most interested in. At one point, my character asks you, but do you speak this in a sad brow? But Claudio, do you speak this in a sad brow?
Right.
No, it's Claudio, do you speak this in a sad brow?
Yeah. Maybe because we have our setting in the 40s too, it's almost a little easier.
Yeah.
It's also easy to imagine that they talked so different back then, but you plop someone from like the 20s, 1800s even with us, there's a conversation we could have. It's not so, the language hasn't evolved so much in only a couple hundred years.
I think it's fairly easy to comprehend. I think monologues get a little bit harder to process for an audience member when you're hearing that heightened language in an extended sequence. I think it becomes more of a task for an actor. I have a couple monologues and I've loved diving into them, but I have to actively work to not get into like a rote pattern of speech. But it's fun. I love that stuff.
It's so crazy that the language, it's why we still read Shakespeare. Well, maybe they don't do that in the schools anymore. They've been taking it out. Yeah, my dad's a teacher.
They've been taking Shakespeare out?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Jeez.
A lot of schools don't really teach Shakespeare anymore, which is a shame. But there's a reason we still perform these. The language is so, relevant to us, and it's so just good. The words, the connections, the speech training I got at acting school is, for me, one of the bases for how I like to perform is just get those words down so easily that the muscle memory is just there, and then you sort of find a little flavor, a little coloring in those sounds.
Do you have a favorite Shakespeare show?
Favorite Shakespeare show? I don't know.
On the spot. I'm surprised you didn't have one like locked
Right
in
away.
the barrel. Like,
I'm impossible to decide stuff. Like I can pick where I want to go eat, but today I'll say Richard III.
Today, Richard III is your favorite Shakespeare
Yes.
show. Why?
Well, I have the personal connection of doing it in school.
Okay.
We didn't do the full play. We did like
I was gonna say, what?
scenes.
This is high school?
In college.
Okay.
Yes. Art school.
That makes sense. I've never heard of a high school doing Richard III.
I'll tell you some plays my high school did. You'll be like, I didn't think high schools would do those plays.
All right, great.
But Richard III, again, the language with the history specifically. I think that the connection to being nonfiction, at least parts of it, right, is always an interest for me. Of like, oh, this happened to some degree, right? Richard warping people around him, using his words to deceive. It's just the most interesting villain to me. Just like Iago in Othello. Like, oh my goodness, he's so evil. He's so wickedly smart.
Iago and Bianca, right? No, Amelia. Amelia is his wife. Iago's wife is Amelia?
Oh, okay. I can't get that
I
one.
think.
She could
Who's
be.
Bianca?
I just know
No,
Desdemona.
Bianca's... I can't
Othello's
believe I'm
wife.
blanking on all this. I'm pretty sure Amelia is Iago's wife. And the two of them as like a duo are horrifying to me. They're so gross, too. I would die to play Iago. I'm obsessed with Iago. I did play the other Iago in middle school.
the other
Aladdin. In Aladdin, I played Iago, but I haven't played...
You did the Gilbert Gottfried voice?
I did.
They had you do that?
I did this voice in middle school. I was Iago.
Wow. That's so fun.
But it was in middle school.
So it was like this. It's me, Iago.
I have to stop now, or else everyone's tuning out.
You got a show to do, too. Yeah, we got to preserve that voice a little bit.
No, I did that the whole time. So I want to play Iago from Shakespeare's Othello, but I still want to do the Gilbert Gottfried voice.
Nice,
No,
yeah. I love random substitutions of characters.
Right. It is one of my favorite characters. It's possibly my favorite character in Shakespeare.
Sure. I was going to say, behind every evil man, an evil woman, right?
Yeah.
Every great man.
Their dynamic's crazy. It's abusive, but it's also sexual, but it's also like really twisted and maniacal. Love them.
I wish I knew the order of the plays that he wrote, because like Much Ado's Don John and Conrad are almost like a prototype, or just
a little bit,
some
a little
different version
bit.
of
Conrad
that.
has always been a bizarre character for me. So Conrad is one of Don John's, I don't know if henchman's the right word. Minions, sure, whatever.
How did he amass
But
such an
Conrad
evil
isn't
crew?
in the show very much. Conrad is like a fairly small character, but it's like he starts big. Like he's the first henchman that Don John talks to in the show, and then Baracchio comes in and seems like he's going to be the secondary henchman. But then halfway through the show, Conrad kind of falls to the wayside, and Baracchio's now suddenly kind of taking the spotlight.
Yep.
And I wish I could ask Billy Shakes what the heck he was doing when he was writing those characters. I'm too asymmetrical in my thinking. Like I want characters to have the same amount of screen time or stage time.
Sure.
But that's not how most good theater isn't asymmetrical.
Agreed. I love when a play has characters that sort of just seemingly stop in for a little bit and kind of are gone. They don't really have a character arc so much that we see, but they're still valuable because of what they offer to the
their
brief
character arc continues after they leave for their final scene.
on their own story.
Right.
But if you
Everybody's
believe
their
that
own-
people have lives outside of you.
which I don't.
Go!
Like when you showed up today in the studio,
Right.
that you started existing.
This started generating like a Minecraft terrain all
right.
of a sudden.
Yes.
For me.
For you, but that's just in my head. That's what happened for you?
So silly. I want to tell you the high school plays that we did that you'd be like,
Please do.
okay, maybe some high schools did this. I think I've heard of it before. Spring Awakening.
What is with high schools doing Spring Awakening?
No, right? That's kind of crazy.
That one
and this
high
was
schools have been doing more and more, and it shocks me.
and this was 2014.
That's
my junior year.
crazy.
Guess
That play is insane.
Yes. And they censored some stuff, I want to say. Obviously they didn't have certain elements of that, but
Sure.
okay, but then here's what we did my senior year. Do you know Angels in America?
You did not do Angels in America in high school.
Angels in America. That was the last.
How long of a version?
Just the first part, right? So,
Okay.
Is that Millennium
still
Approaches?
long,
I
right?
think? Yes. Oh my God.
It's like,
and then
what,
plenty cut.
2.5 hours?
I think it
3
was
hours?
2.5. Yeah, maybe 2:45.
After cuts.
After cuts. Totally. Yes.
Wow.
I know. It was really cool. That was the last. That was our spring play. So the last thing that we sent off our seniors with, basically. Really fun show. I mean, important show.
Yeah.
And then to undertake that as high schoolers is sort of crazy, right?
Was it good? It wasn't. There's no way it was good.
Come on, yes.
It was good?
I remember.
How big was your high school?
My graduating class 700, so like 2000.
So you had I had like 50
Yeah. Okay.
in my class. So we
Sure.
were putting on shows where I felt like I felt like they were casting like just enough people to be in the show, let alone looking for people who were
You work
interested
with
in being-
what you got,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah. So I
I'm
imagine
learning
your
that.
shows were better quality. Not to diss my school.
We
I
had
love-
tons
I
of
love
resources.
my
That's
school.
really, it's resources and drive from our teachers and then the students too, which is a blessing. But yeah, Angels in America. I was actually in a full leather outfit because I was the man in the park.
Wow.
For a rather
skin tight leather.
Skin tight leather. I had no undershirt, just the leather jacket, and it was a rather explicit scene. I
Sure.
won't bear repeating here.
Wow.
But
And we've recreated it for this Shakespeare show.
come see.
So-
Very silly.
Fantastic. All right. So you talked about Richard III. Now I'm more akin to Richard II. I love Richard II.
I've heard some flack on that one because
People talk about it like it's the boring one
right,
because there's not a lot of action.
it's just him
But-
kind of getting screwed, right? He just kind of like sits on
He's
his loins
screwing
and
others over,
screws others
and
over.
and he's a big man baby. He's kind of like Claudio a little bit.
Shakespeare.
He's Shakespeare. But he's a guy who came to power at an extremely young age, and that's all he's ever really known. And he doesn't relate to anybody. So he's like
Me. Okay. No.
it's like someone demanding respect without ever earning it, like encompassed in a character. And yet he's written so honestly. Like, I believe every type of human deserves a right to be seen and understood, including someone like Richard II, who's just obscenely out of touch. But I want to know where he's coming from still. I want to know where that kind of soul is finding his pain. And it tackles it so intensely. My favorite version of it is Ben Whishaw as Richard II. You know Ben Whishaw?
I do not.
Did you ever see Mary Poppins Returns?
No, I did not.
Or Paddington. He's the voice of Paddington.
Is he really Paddington Bear?
He's the voice of Paddington Bear.
Oh,
He's also he's in
awesome.
a lot of great stuff. He played like a sleaze bag in some period piece a couple years ago. I'm
Heck
trying
of
to
a
remember.
range.
I think he-
Paddington Bear and
I
a
think he was
total
in
sleep.
Fantastic Beasts. I don't know. Ben Wishaw's amazing. Patrick Stewart was also in that. Rory Kinnear played the villain. Love Rory Kinnear. Well, / hero. He's kind of the hero. Anyway, love that show. So slow, so good.
I forget. I have a Shakespeare app that will give me a little quote every day. I'm forgetting which one of it always comes up from Richard II. Something sad, something brutal, man. I'm King Lear. I love King Lear
Yeah.
as well. Jesters often do prove prophets. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. 'Cause
Jesters often do prove prophets.
I might have that a little
Something
wrong,
like
but
that.
yes, yeah.
It's a cool line.
Jesters often prove prophets.
That's Shakespeare?
Yes. Yeah, King Lear.
King Lear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes sense. It's probably...
Oh, and there's my Angels in America tie-in because there's the rabbi at the start of that show brings up sharper than the serpent's tooth is the ingratitude of children, which is a King Lear quote. Because, he divvies up the kingdom, and then the one daughter's like silent because she's like, I can't express, and this is my tie into Much Ado. It's just tying all together. Silence is the perfectest herald of joy. You know the line that Claudio says?
Is that repeated in King Lear?
Well, so his one daughter is like silent. She doesn't
Cordelia.
say
You're
anything.
talking about Cordelia.
Yes, she doesn't
Yeah.
say anything. She's
Right.
like she can't. She's like overwhelmed by her love.
Right.
I think that's the same
and
idea.
he interprets
there, right?
it as like disdain and like
He tells her nothing will come of nothing.
right.
You
And
say nothing,
he
you will get
banishes
nothing.
the only daughter that's not manipulating him.
Yeah.
What a devastating character.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good at writing shows, that
Right.
group of people that we know as Shakespeare. Drop
How
a little
dare
drop a
you?
little conspiracy
How
on you.
dare you suggest
Don't
that
know.
Billy Shakespeare didn't single-handedly write every single show, including the ones that he's credited with co-writers? No, those don't exist either.
Which are those?
Like Two Noble Kinsmen, that's my favorite that he didn't write alone.
Okay.
So there's like the theories that William Shakespeare. I keep calling him Billy.
Billy.
I like calling him
He's your
Billy
good
Shakes.
buddy.
I like calling
You're
him
thinking
Billy.
of Steven as him, right?
Yeah.
Your good buddy.
And there's a lot of theories about shows that he didn't write alone, or that maybe there was no William Shakespeare. But there's the other ones where it's like confirmed there was indeed co-writers. John Fletcher, I think, wrote a couple plays with William Shakespeare. Two Noble Kinsmen is one where John Fletcher wrote like half of the plot. Like there's all these like subplots in that show of like this crazed jailer's daughter and her misadventures that are it's like barely related to the main story.
Nice.
Mainly because that show was written to entertain a specific like festival in the 1600s, and John Fletcher came in and wrote a bunch of like entertainment scenes to happen in and around
Dig it.
Shakespeare's plot.
Yeah.
And I actually like those scenes a lot better than the main story
Nice.
in Two Noble Kinsmen.
I don't know if plots are Shakespeare's strong point. Even I feel like just you got to set up characters in a situation. But I think the some of the best stuff is like but that my lady should know me, and not a soliloquy
Right.
of just some character who's
It's
like,
Seinfeld.
suddenly I have a realization. Sure. Yeah. Right.
Seinfeld is the modern Shakespeare. Because people talk about Shakespeare like the greatest artists are compared to Shakespeare. No. The Coen brothers should be compared to Shakespeare. They write meandering stories where there's no clear beginning or end. You're just kind of getting a snippet of a story.
You're talking about my favorite movie, dude.
That's Shakespeare. Burn After Reading.
Big Lebowski. Love
Big
Burn
Lebowski.
After Reading, though. Well, Burn After Reading, everything comes together. Everything's like,
Don't spoil Burn After Reading. I'm sure there's tons of people who haven't seen it.
excellent movie. Go see it. Big Lebowski, I think, is more like scene by scene. You're like,
guess.
why am I seeing this?
Oh, sure.
If for the first time, a lot of people, they're just very confused. I was sort of just watching it in like okay, more information. Where's this going? But
You know
can't
what I
really
mean when I'm comparing this stuff to Shakespeare? Like these kinds of stories, the Coen brothers and the Seinfeld, where it's like more meandering stories, and Seinfeld, in the most Shakespearean fashion, just takes breaks to do monologues.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. on his show, Louis,
Right.
like you're getting these breaks from the story to hear the inner voice of in modern context, the comedian delivering stand-up.
Yep.
But I think that's much more Shakespearean than most modern dramas.
Yeah, I don't watch many of like the newer TV shows, White Lotus or what have you, the rich people
No,
fantasy
those aren't
shows.
like Shakespeare at all. Well,
I couldn't imagine they are.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, the writers, people who are making those shows, got to have some experience. They know the tropes,
Sure.
the Shakespearean.
Have you ever
right?
watched Louis?
A little bit. I love the what's he do? The Paul. He does the Beatles. I'm Paul, and I'm John.
Louis C.K.?
Yes, yeah. He's saying goodnight to the girls, and he's like,
I don't remember
they're like,
that.
Daddy, do it, and he like says goodnight as all the Beatles.
Wow, I
Very
don't remember
funny.
that at all. I'm not.
He crushes it too. Their voices.
I don't ever think of him as being someone who does voices.
No, right? Yeah, because he's all, my wife, or
Right.
my life.
Yeah, he. There's a whole arc in that show where he like wants to become like a talk show host. And it's like a 3-episode arc, I think, where he's like in the running to replace, I think, Jay Leno.
Nice.
And it's a fictional story.
Although that was a real thing.
But it's based off like it's based off some relatively real events of him almost becoming a talk show host. But in the story, in the end, it all falls apart because he just doesn't have the energy to do a daily talk show host. Like,
Yeah.
like the mental energy that it would take to be on every day.
Sure.
But Louis is the type of guy, he'll take a 3-week sabbatical because he feels like it.
I feel him there, dude. Yeah. I got to give those influencers credit, man. Waking up every day, filming a video of yourself. That's not
Yeah.
easy.
No, it's wild.
It's not free. Tough.
Yeah, influencers, man.
Could be you, man.
I don't know about that.
I think merely by having this, that's influence.
This is influence. Welcome to my influence.
This is influence.
This is influence. How would you like to influence people in your life, Casey?
My answer's always been to make them laugh.
Make them laugh.
You told me to wear
'em
my
laugh.
aesthetic today, and I just wore all black.
You wore all black
I left the
today.
house. I'm like, oh, he told me aesthetic. It's like, I don't know if I have an aesthetic. I'm just a mouth, dude. I just talk. I just want to make people laugh. I'm doing all right, but yeah, no, it's always just been make people laugh.
Have you ever? Do you refer to yourself as Do you call yourself a comedian by trade, or do you use the word actor?
Oh, that's a good one. I like to say performer.
Oh,
I
you
don't know
go with
I can't
performer.
remember what about actor I was like. I'm gonna be picky because, but whatever, we all.
I
have
go
our-
by egomaniac.
and it works.
If you go on my website, it says Hunter Johnson, egomaniac.
I know this will come as a surprise, but I was the class clown of my high school.
Like officially?
In the superlatives, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Superlatives, isn't that like most likely to become something?
Yeah.
So
Or
yours
just
was
class
most
clown.
likely to become class clown?
Well, it's not all most likely. Some of them
Oh,
are just like
some
best
of them
teeth,
it's-
best smile, or whatever. And class
Mine
clown.
was most likely to win an Oscar.
actually,
Yeah.
that's funny.
It was them making fun of me. 100% through and through, it was them making fun of me.
Did you take yourself a little seriously?
Yeah. And I didn't have friends in high school, and I was the theater guy, and I took it deadly seriously,
You're just the one theater guy.
basically.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, there was other guys in the shows, but I don't know how many of them would have looked at themselves as like that's their main thing. My friends were the music people. I had a good amount of friends with the music guys, but yeah, I saw the superlative, and like 10% of me was like, and the other 90% of me was like, all right, okay, it's rude.
Well, so you were saying you were teasing me yesterday about my interest. You're like, what aren't you interested in?
Yeah,
I
what
got the
hobbies
sports.
don't
and,
you have?
Variety is the spice of life, man. I don't know why I keep bringing it up in my high school, but what's funny to me is that we had a bunch of guys who were athletes who then also went into theater. And actually, the way I got started at our high school was there was a football practice on a Saturday after our Friday night game, which is not the most enthused you are for a football practice generally. And 5 other guys in the team were going to audition for August Osage County. Tracy Letts.
You did August Osage in high school?
Yes. That was the first play I was in high school.
Was it edited?
No.
You had high schoolers just blasting out curse words on stage.
We might have trimmed down a little bit, but it was, like eat the fish, right? Like all that is good stuff.
I'm glad you censored yourself.
I knew.
For this context.
At least enough. But yeah, so I basically was like, oh, these guys are leaving football practice early. Hey, coach, I'm also going to audition for this.
Wow.
And like I wanted to. I was in an acting class.
Were
with
you
this,
in it?
And then I got cast, yeah.
Who were you?
Bill, the dad.
Bill, the dad.
Yeah.
I love Bill.
Yeah.
He's such...
You're feeling a little too sympathetic for Bill. He did cheat on his wife.
No, what I was about to say is he's such a poo-poo head.
Sure.
And but he makes me feel for him in a way that I so desperately wish he would have made better decisions. You know, like that's a tragic.
His bad decisions are like before the play,
Right.
Because everything we see of him, he's like
Right.
more or less trying to make amends with Barbara as much as he can, right? He knows he sucks.
but without like taking
protects his
anything
daughter.
back, which
Sure.
makes it more tragic. This is how you write tragedy.
Well, I don't think he regrets it.
No, that's
that
the
way,
part. That's the
right?
thing.
Yeah.
Like you can see a likable person mixed with just shameless decisions, and it's like,
Dude,
that,
that's gonna hit me.
mix-
That's gonna hit me in a couple hours. Whoa, yeah, you're right, dude. Wow, and that's human. That's a human.
Yeah,
You can be good, but a bad decision is really just a quick
yeah.
write-off, man.
This is why we could get into a whole conversation about nice guy syndrome. You know? No,
I bet we could, yeah. My metaphors in my world I see in traffic everywhere. And so
Yeah.
my nice guy metaphor for that is when someone is like, you have the right of way and like you're trying to make a left turn, but then they're coming this way and then they stop to give you that left turn. If you can see what I'm seeing, that's not a good driver move because
Yeah.
you're stopping the natural flow of traffic.
Sure.
To me, that metaphor plays in life at times when like you stop for a perceived kindness, but you might be holding up.
Oh, sure.
Life is interesting that way. I think that you can drive a car.
The metaphor kind of fell apart at the end. There,
yeah. No, I didn't finish too strong.
I do love August Osage, though. It's one of my favorite plays. I really love what's his name, Little Charles.
Oh,
Little Charles is my favorite.
Yeah.
We just did a Zoom script reading with my. So I run an actors collective online called Neoteric Players. Check it out, Neoteric Players, on my personal social accounts. But we did an August Osage County Zoom reading. It's not actually online yet, so check out the other readings of Neoteric Players.
Shameless plug. Seamless.
Shameless plug. And I read for Little Charles. So fun. I mean, he barely shows up, but he's such a little like mess. Little Charles is a disaster.
Yeah, the whole family there, really.
Is anybody put together? I guess Jonna, the maid,
right,
is pretty put together.
If anyone.
She's the eyes of the audience, I suppose.
And then the daughter, but then other stuff happens. Oh, God.
I don't... Yeah.
That show's pretty fun.
I think that's a good one to not spoil.
Agreed, yeah.
Oh, so good. And some of the actors doing that Zoom reading didn't know the end, didn't know any of the twists and turns.
Yeah. Oh, there's several.
And so they discovered it as they were reading it.
That's
and they
fun.
asked me, they were like, do you want us to read it? And I was like, only if you want to, but you don't have to read it beforehand. I'm happy for you as your character to discover these things as your characters discover them.
Totally.
That's so like present and in the moment. I love that kind of spontaneity.
Totally. That's why I don't like to watch trailers before movies. I don't even want to see the images.
Yeah.
Because that just puts more info in your mind than you would have. Oh, let me tell you this, though. So August Osage, right? That was my first play I did.
Yeah.
With the high school or whatever, I guess. But I will never forget looking up at the lights after our first show went up, and then the curtain call, and we're getting applause. I just have this image in my head always of looking into the lights so bright and hearing the applause, and then walking out to the back dressing room, just being like, I want to recreate this feeling. Like I want to belong. You know, I was sports guy my whole life up until that point, and it just made so much sense to me to like pivot and be theater.
So was that the turning point for you?
Big time, yeah.
August?
I'd played baseball my whole life, and that was my sophomore year, and I didn't play baseball in the spring, and the coach was furious. He wouldn't let me be at the bleachers or something because he was mad at me because I didn't show up to practice or to tryouts, and he was like,
wow.
"Where is Casey?" And they're like, "He does theater now." And he's like, "No, he doesn't."
So had you done theater before August Osage?
I'd done like a Second City class. I was featured, I guess, in a couple elementary school plays. I'll never forget being Herb the Verb. Herb the Verb is a man of action.
Herb the Verb.
It's all about verbs, man. That was a great song.
But until August Osage, then, it was all like sparing random little things.
Within school stuff, like definitely, yeah.
And then when was August Osage?
My sophomore year.
So what did you do after that?
Then I was in Cyrano de Bergerac as the villain in the spring, and that's really what started. I think Bill's not necessarily a villain, but he's kind of got some bad vibes or whatever.
So the version of Cyrano that I know, I read it in school.
Oh, okay.
What?
The Steve Martin movie.
No, the version that I know, other than reading it forever ago, and I barely remember it, was the 2021 Peter Dinklage movie.
I loved that.
It is. I have heard the soundtrack to that Cyrano musical probably 100 times.
Okay.
I can't stop listening to it. Even yesterday, I have a CD of it in my car, and I just play it on loop.
You have a CD?
My car is full of CDs, yes.
That's so retro.
I do indeed have a massive CD collection, and I rotate them. So when I listen to CDs, I put them in the done pile, take them inside to my house, and bring out the next ones in the pile.
Wow.
In like the cycle. And
I like
put them
that.
back in the not listened to pile.
What does CD stand for?
Compact disc?
Ooh, nice. I had compact. I couldn't remember what the D was. It's rather disc shaped. That should have been easy.
Right.
But so that Peter Dinklage movie that's my life. That Peter Dinklage movie rules. But then we did like the OG, like the classic.
The original script.
Yeah. we had a really talented guy who was Cyrano. He was a senior.
He was
phenomenal.
talented. We cast a disaster.
We cast the worst
disastrously
dude.
bad actor as Cyrano. He didn't have a big nose. His problem was that he was a bad actor.
That's right. Yeah.
That's why he couldn't talk to Roxanne, because she knew that he was a bad actor.
Dang.
Yeah.
Fun show though. And then, like I said, that's where I started being like really a villain, because then I was the mayor in Enemy of the People.
All I can think of is the Will Smith movie, Enemy of the State, which I don't think is related.
No. That's a
I don't.
oh, it's not Strindberg.
Enemy of the People.
Oh, it's one of the Eastern European country guys.
Don't know.
But then Arthur Miller adapted it later. And then
Enemy of the People is an Arthur Miller play?
Yeah, there's a version. Actually, that might have been the version we did. Yes.
I love Arthur Miller, so
Good.
I don't know why I don't know this.
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your favorite Arthur Miller?
Ooh. I love Death of a Salesman. That's so cliche, but
great.
like
Yeah.
everything between Biff and Happy
You'd be a good Biff.
is crushing to me. Yeah, right? The bros.
You'd be a great Biff, yeah. I View from a Bridge is one of my favorites. That's a wild play. Arthur Miller, like decades ago, wrote this shocking play where your main character is like a pedophile, and like it is
View from a Bridge?
it's awful. It's just a horrifying read or watch. But you as an audience just empathize with everybody around this main protagonist. And Arthur Miller's like, I'm going to force you to endure this wretched character.
Nice.
And he's going to want to be sympathized with. And it's going to be awful. And you're going to hate it. But it's so compelling. And
Right.
it's so disgusting. But it's like, it's Arthur Miller. So you can't help but get drawn into the story.
Totally. My favorite modern playwright, Martin McDonagh.
Love Martin McDonagh.
Everything ever. Did you see Banshees of Inisherin?
Mm-hmm. Holy cow.
Speaking of cows, every time I drive by cows, and there were so many as I was finishing the drive up here, I'm moved to tears. I want to cry. They're just so cute. I just want to pet them and reassure them that they're okay.
Yeah. Sure. I've ridden a cow.
Have you really?
Yeah. I grew up on a farm.
Oh my God.
So my dad had they're steers, not cows, because cows are girls and these were boys. So we were raising them for meat, not for milk. In case anybody's curious the difference. But the first day that we moved to my dad's old childhood farm, we moved to my dad's childhood farm when I was 9. And the first day we got 2 steers. I was 9 years old, and I hopped on top of one, and I was on it for about 2 seconds before it kicked me off, and I landed on the pavement. And
how did that feel?
It felt great. Yeah, it was a great time. My bum was in such great shape after that.
Right. So I was imagining you like set up a ride on the steer. No, you just kind of
I climbed up partway onto a silo and hopped onto the steer that was standing next.
I'm sure
to
the steer
silo.
took that very well.
Yeah, it wasn't like a graceful like stepping onto its back. It was like a hop. I don't recommend. I actually highly don't recommend ever letting somebody do this.
Tell me why Harvard is known for Milk Day.
I don't know.
I saw that on the water tower.
I should know. There's a whole like parade.
I love milk.
Milk Day parade.
Big milk
I think
fan.
is what it's called.
Yeah.
And there's a cow statue in Harvard.
I would love to see it.
So I don't know. I don't know the history behind that. I'm from Woodstock, which is the neighboring town to Harvard. But this is my studio location in Harvard, Illinois. And yeah, I got to learn more about the history of this thing.
Do you ever have milk with ice?
Have I ever had milk
Iced milk.
with ice?
The colder the milk is, the better it is. Take that to the bank.
I will take it to the bank, and I
Good.
will throw it onto those cash register people.
Make them deposit it
at
too.
the bank. I'll make them deposit
Milk with
some
ice.
milk. Some iced milk.
With ice, yeah.
Well, that was a super fun derailing of.
Yeah, tangents, don't we?
Tangents are fantastic. Segues are cool. Anyway, so
I've never
you
read
were
it.
in Cyrano de Bergerac,
Yes.
and
Evilly.
and eventually you did graduate. Did you? You went to college and you did theater,
I did, yes. Acting performance.
acting, performance degree,
Theater acting, I guess, was
theater
the...
acting.
Didn't say I got a degree.
Did you not graduate?
I did not finish college, no.
How far did you get?
2 years.
Out of
Halfway.
out of 4?
Out of 4, yeah.
And then you were like, "This ain't for me."
Well,
Or
there's
were
a
you
number of
just ready to
factors. I think I was ready to work, but there was so much talk about how that 4th year at that school was just a waste. And I was already paying buco money that I didn't really have.
Yeah.
So I collected some forever debt and got out of there.
Great.
The American dream, dude.
The American dream. Yeah.
Basically,
I'm sorry your experience wasn't as positive as it could have been.
it was a good time. I made some good friends.
Yeah.
I had a cool show I did. The one show I did after I left college was with a group called Not Men Apart. We did a version of Lysistrata, the Greek story where all the women refuse the men their sexual desires so that they'll stop fighting a war.
Huh.
Yeah. And I was a dead body on stage for about 45 minutes, which was a real challenge.
That's challenging.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yes, dude. It does, because you kind of like... Well, I think I got to a point where I would fall asleep sometimes.
Was it meditative?
Totally, actually, yes. It was.
Because either being asleep and especially being dead on stage can become like you can get into this like entrancing state of like entering into this whole other world.
Luckily, there was no cue for me to do. They moved my body once, but then like, yeah, you just kind of rocked
You got
with
moved off the stage? You didn't have to move off the stage?
So I was moved onto stage initially, and then like 30 minutes later, they moved me like a little bit backstage so that Lysistrata, which is my mom in the show, would like lay on me and be like, "My baby."
Wow.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when like itches come and you can't itch it,
Dude.
it's a whole other. I highly recommend these kinds of meditations outside of theater. Actually,
Ditto. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lay down. Do nothing.
Yeah, to feel an itch for 15, 20, 40 minutes without ever scratching it. I'm talking about real. There's no metaphor here. I'm literally talking about itches.
Yeah. I have an itch on my nose right now. To refuse that is like takes a little bit of effort, focus.
But then when you don't, is like there's like a power in that, you know. It's fun.
I remember someone told me, "I really thought you were dead." And I was like, "Thank you." That's a nice compliment. Thank you.
I don't know how I feel that you didn't try to help me, but sure, thank you.
Why would you let them continue?
If you thought I was really dead and you did nothing, are you a good friend?
Damn.
Yeah, I think you should probably cut them out of your life.
They weren't my friend.
Oh, okay.
Just an audience member.
Sure.
Speaking of not being my friend, Banshees of Inisherin?
Oh, Banshees of Inisherin. And in Bruges.
Yes. Oh, my God, of course.
Which
All
I
of his...
like even more.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay. In Bruges is fantastic.
In Bruges broke my heart.
What are his other two? He has 7 Psychopaths, and then there's one more I'm missing.
the 3 billboards. 3
Oh,
billboards
my
outside
goodness.
Ebbing, Missouri.
That might be my favorite one. 3 Billboards is devastating. They're all...
7 Psychopaths is on my list, and I haven't seen it
You haven't
yet.
seen it? Yeah,
And
I love that.
That's Christopher Walken, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I gotta watch that movie.
Yeah,
But in
and
Bruges,
Sammy Rockwell.
he's in. Oh yeah. In Bruges though is one of my. I watched it and I knew about halfway through this was going to be one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Period.
If you read any of his plays, I mean, the setting being like the Irish, wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's just like those green pastures, the hills. That's just like every play I've read of his. I'm like, that is exactly what I picture is going on.
Yeah.
Just
I
about.
auditioned for an Irish role last year in a musical
Nice.
using a monologue from one of his plays.
Oh, sure.
Did not get cast.
What play was it?
That is a great question. I do not remember. I also appreciate that you keep the drink stopper in.
Yeah, it's
whenever
still a little
you're
bit
not
warm.
drinking.
It's perfectly not
But it stays
too hot.
warm. Also, little plug. This is from the Mug Coffee House, which is one of my next door neighbors. Great coffee shop, Harvard, Illinois. Mug Coffee House.
Righteous.
Go support.
That's a free plug, isn't it?
Support local.
Wow.
Not paid plug.
Yeah, right.
But
I want to do an advertisement for companies that don't sponsor me.
right. Yeah.
Just throw a little free love there.
While we're plugging things, I should briefly mention our show, Much Ado About Nothing. Poster's right here. Also, at the end of this video, you'll see the poster. Links are below, and please go check it out. Come see the show, May 23rd through 31st. By the time you watch this video, we might already be on to the second weekend of shows, but come support. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. People come there for vacation. Super awesome, like tourist town.
Gorgeous town.
The lake is amazing. We're at Geneva Stage. So fun. I'm playing Benedick. Casey's playing Claudio. What a blast. It's fun. Shakespeare's fun.
I always love to have a little bit of the bard in my tongue, in my mouth.
Sure.
This came out weird,
I
but
think that should be the title of the video.
I was doing so well.
Yeah.
I was doing so good.
It's funny, you were talking about like August Osage, like that feeling at the end of that show, like and wanting to just recapture that.
Totally.
It reminded me of Midsummer Night's Dream in college. Not in the sense that it was a turning point. I was already pretty into theater by then.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
But it was a student show. We only did one performance.
Oh.
And we were in a room that held maybe 250 people. We had about 350 people squeezed into the room.
Okay, that's
and
insanely
it was
over occupancy.
Magic. And not safe. But but it was magic. It was this experience that I still haven't felt since then of like, and because it's the only performance, you know that this feeling with this cast and with this audience is a one-time thing. And there's something like so satisfying and fulfilling in that, in hearing such laughter and and knowing that 350 people were watching a Shakespeare show and getting it. You know, like fully immersed into Shakespeare, which doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
It's easy to do Shakespeare in a way where you lose your audience because they're not following the language. It's not clear enough what's happening. The actors aren't saying it clear enough in a modern sensibility. But I still I can't get this out of my head, this experience. And I remember going to IHOP after the performance.
Always the IHOP or Denny's, man.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was IHOP. I remember telling the director, it was his show, it was his student show. I remember telling him, I'm like, so how does it feel to like probably be the most successful student show that this school has ever had? And he just looked at me and he smiled and he didn't say anything. And I could tell he was feeling something very similar. And these are the kinds of moments that can be latched onto. And it's not unhealthy either. I think it can become unhealthy if you're like chasing it relentlessly.
I was going to say, right? You don't want to be so after like, I want to recreate this exactly.
No, but
you want to put in the work
because it
enough.
can't be recreated.
Right,
It can be enjoyed and looked back on so fondly.
Yep.
Because the next time that kind of feeling comes, it's not because that experience was recreated. It's because you had another new original experience that you couldn't predict.
Yeah. I think it comes from like putting in that work. I mean, I remember that rehearsal process. Times where I was like working with the other, my partner, the woman who played Barbara, very talented actress. She was 2 years older than me. She was a senior, and she was like back and forth with me and would help me on that stuff. And you know the pacing that we found of stuff, and to put in moments of breaks of that pace, you know, kind of blew my little mind at that point. Of
what
like,
was your favorite scene as Bill? Without getting too spoilery, but
sure.
what was your favorite scene as Bill?
I could tell you. It was we have a picture of it too. They get into a fight, and it's not the last thing he says to her. I think it's like the scene before that, but he's like, you know, Barbara, like
with the daughter?
No. Before that, I think.
Oh, before that.
Yeah. He says something to her. He just gets right up in her face and it's like, you know, Barbara, you're something, but you're also, and I'm sorry, I can't get the lines here, right? But like, he like says like you know, you are smart, but you're also like a pain in the ass. Oh, that's what it is you're a pain in the, and delivering that, I can't remember. I think someone's dad told me like you really did capture some like frustration.
And because of that, because of the dynamics with those characters, he's right. Like, he's wrong in so many decisions he makes.
Yep.
But he's also right in how he analyzes Barbara. who's the character's wife.
Right.
They're not. It's not exclusively one character is the one the audience sides with. Oleana is similar. You know Oleana, David Mamet. Do you know what David Mamet shows like Glengarry Glen Ross?
I know
Oleana,
Glengarry Glen Ross, of course.
Russian something. I don't know. And
I haven't seen a lot of them. But
Oleana is another show where you think you're going to side with one character and then 20 minutes passes and you're like, I don't know if I can side with them anymore.
Yeah,
but
that's
I can't
good
side
writing,
with this
dude.
one, and you're kind of you're with both of them against each other, and you're sympathizing with both of them. These are my favorite kinds of characters. I love. Yeah,
I wish I could write colliding characters and make
it's
them
hard.
hate and then
It's
love.
really hard.
Right. Yeah. I think just observing what we see around us, people, those writers have all taken from their experiences in their life. You can't make something out of nothing.
Do you write?
Not enough, dude. Writing is the key. Go write. Just write something that happened to you today. Write what you're thinking. Write what you're feeling. It's so easy, and that is the key
They
to...
can't write. They're doom scrolling.
Dang. Oh, you're right. I got to get back to doom scrolling, actually.
Here, I think we should revert to doom
Little
scrolling.
doom
You guys
scroll
can stay
break.
on here, but we're just going to quick doom scroll real quick. When I say quick, I mean like 3 hours. So this is going to be
That's a quick doom
like a
scrolling
4-hour video. The first hour, awesome conversation. Last 3, silent doom scrolling. Starting right.
Love that.
Yeah, writing's hard. And I'm not even totally joking, like about the doom scrolling taking over.
Totally.
Like, it's crazy. I don't know if this is in your life as much as it's become in mine. I didn't think this would enter my life. It's devastating. It's impacting everyone now. Like,
Yeah.
our creativity is being sucked away because of stuff like this very video. What's up with that?
Are we ruining everything?
Everybody contributes, and yet we're trying to put creative output. We're trying to make creative output, and yet everybody contributes to the problem, and yet everybody's trying to get out of the problem together. It's like a vicious cycle.
Absolutely, dude. Bo Burnham said a couple years ago, he's like, they are coming for every second you have to get a screen in front of your face every single second. And then for smaller folks like you and I who might want to get in on some of the monetary gain, but we're just
monetary gain.
No, right? Like that's the pie in the sky dream is that you might put out
monetary gain.
you might put out content to like actually intrigue some people.
Yeah.
But then you got the guy who drank an aquarium full of red 40 dye with a spoon or something with a fork.
An aquarium?
He had an aquarium tank and he drank red 40 out of it.
And he died?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he will soon. But like that stuff, like a million likes on TikTok. He made money from that.
So you have people who they're just
Risk
doing whatever
their
they're
bodily
risking
health.
their health. But you have the other people who are creating stuff that's actually really cool and really impressive, and that contributes to the doom scrolling too.
Right.
Like I can't diss on the specific content that often pops up. Like, are you familiar with Dropout?
Of course.
I
Huge
love
College Humor fan.
Dropout. College Humor, and now Dropout is arguably even more engaging because it feels like you're actually experiencing people authentically.
Right.
And
that's just
yet-
the way their show is. You're putting them on the spot like that.
And yet I'm watching so much more than I feel like I'm giving in some ways,
Or gaining. Or like,
yeah, I suppose.
What do we get from that? I've been taken to. I always wake up and I'm kind of like my phone's pretty quickly into my hand. Unfortunately, and hopefully kick that happens soon. But like, I keep telling myself, you won't find an answer to everything on this phone right now.
Yeah,
and then even still, like I'll come across a TikTok or something that's like, that is information I'm glad I know now. That actually does change. But some part of me is just like, this screen is not going to solve nothing for me today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wish it could, but if it would have, it probably would have by
There's
now.
got to be a turning point soon, right? Hopefully,
when they stop paying creators and just have it all AI, something changes then.
you know what? I actually do hope this happens because then I think it'll all implode.
Yeah.
And it'll go away. If AI takes over, say TikTok,
Right.
then TikTok is no more of use, and it can be let go. Let the TikTok algorithm be controlled by AI. Let it be taken over by bots, and all the humans can leave and go do something more productive.
True dead internet
and let
theory.
the ship die.
Yeah.
Full of AI bots. Am I too cynical?
A teensy bit. TikTok, everyone disses TikTok. It has some awful, awful content of like, look at me, love me, but it's also got really cool creators too.
Yeah,
very cool.
Some of my favorite musicians.
Yeah.
I discovered through Instagram Reels.
Jesse Wells.
I don't know Jesse Wells.
He's a country folky guy.
Not a big country folky guy, but
okay.
but I appreciate. But
He's
yes,
got
the
great words.
sentiment, absolutely. Like, you could probably think of several artists that you would never have discovered if it wasn't for those platforms.
And then, like, that's the good part of this is that, like, maybe you do see someone whose art inspires you to change something for yourself. To, oh, hey, I could do that.
Yeah,
that's a really special thing that we wouldn't want to take away, but when it's all piled on together on tile, it's so smothering and suffocating. How do you get out from that?
Yeah, there's gonna have to be a dramatic shift that I can't see, like that I can't process what's coming.
Yeah, you never will. One of my favorite teachers ever told me, whatever you think it's going to be, and she was talking about the broader sense of like just anything. What you think is coming it will not be what you think it is.
Yeah.
Embrace it, live it, run for it, but it will not be what you think it is. We can't. We're human minds. We're not universe minds. As much as we want to be. Do you think I look good shaved today?
I like the shaved look. I will say, when you auditioned for this show, your headshot was shaved. And then you show up in this like beard. You show up in this bearded man.
Is that uncouth of me? Is that a bad habit?
It's fine. No.
I almost thought it was like, like this is what I look like without the beard, but also I showed up with the beard.
That's fair.
Right?
People say you need to look like your headshot, or you give them two looks. That's the other benefit.
I'm gonna do the one that I did. I'm gonna side with the thing that I did already.
All right, I'm going to let us wrap up today with the same topic that I'm ending with all my guests, which is a topic that I'm fascinated by, and everybody in modern culture has decided recently we're not going to talk about it, and that's religion.
Oh.
My question for you is, did you grow up with religion in your life? If so, what was that experience, and has it continued or maintained in any capacity? And if not, what's it like to navigate the world in whatever experiences you have had?
Very interesting. Did not see that one coming.
Yeah, I know. It's a jarring shift.
I personally, my family did not really raise me religious. I think I went to church once when I was like 9 for like a sermon. I don't even really know what to call them because I'm that out of the sphere of that, which, I think I've always thought to myself, like, oh, it might have been interesting to have religion for the structure of life stuff, which to me has always been something I've lacked, but I've always definitely appreciated my freedom over there of, like, not having that, any of the stuff that comes with it, the perceived responsibilities to me as someone who doesn't have it. But what religion was around me growing up in the town of Highland Park was Judaism. Basically all my friends Jewish, and bar mitzvahs.
But your family's not?
Correct, yes.
Oh, interesting.
So Judaism is like the biggest understanding of any religion I have. I love the Jewish people. They would always welcome me into their home, and I would get to light a menorah or something on Hanukkah. Yeah. It was just so cool to me. It's like, oh, this is so awesome. They would always, the moms just always so encouraging to be like, no, you get in, like, you're here now, get with us. And I was like, okay, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I love the Jews. I love their culture very much. But other than that, like,
it's really fascinating because our Benedick and Beatrice,
it's fascinating.
Okay. Our Benedick and Beatrice, myself and Addie playing Beatrice, are both from a Jewish background. We're both ethnically Jewish.
Oh, okay.
And yet I'm a Christian Jew. She's an atheist Jew. Neither of us practice Judaism.
Yeah, no, right.
But you have But you have two Jewish leads in this show.
Very interesting.
And but it doesn't fit with your story because we both can't stand you. So I don't know.
No, that's great. That is the syndrome. There's a ton of Jews who feel that same way. I know Matt Stone of the South Park guys, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, grew up. He's ethnically Jewish, right? But then didn't grow up with that, because especially if you're separated from community, if you don't have a synagogue around, how would you undertake that? Mm-hmm. Is it your mom's side? Because
it is my mom's side, yeah.
Right, and so I don't know if you've ever heard that, like, that's they say, like, if you have a Christian dad and a Jewish mom, you're Jewish because the mom is the one. I forget why. I'm sorry, my Jewish friends, if I'm butchering the culture.
No, it's true, yeah.
But that's like the mom. You inherit the mom's religion is how I've understood it.
Yeah, I've been called a lot of things. My mom used the terminology Messianic Jew, because that's like a Jew who does adhere to the New Testament and the Bible and follows Jesus, but it's also adhering to Judaism in some ways. Plenty of Jews deny Messianic Judaism entirely, and I don't want to like devalue that. I think there's something to be said in using the name Judaism when it's a pretty different faith entirely. When you're a Christian. So I understand that could be disrespectful to some people to use Judaism in the name, so I generally don't go by that.
I can understand why. And it's so interesting to have like a culture like the Amish, who break off from that at some point. Again, I couldn't really tell you, but like that culture is very fascinating to me, that they adhere to like some of the old way. We will not take this next step. It reminds me of the Native Americans who, like, they knew to live to their means. You don't need to extend the society beyond your means.
Sure.
Live with nature. Like
something I discovered recently in the Bible. Before it was ever called Christianity, it was called the Way.
Oh, really?
And I never knew this.
Is that like Yahweh?
No. The group was called the Way. It wasn't like a Hebrew thing. It was like this is the way.
Wow.
It was like straight from Mandalorian. I was like, I feel like there's a verse that might say this is the way. That's and right. It was wild. I was like, no, this went away, I guess. And eventually Christianity became the name. But briefly, the group following Jesus was called The Way. And nobody ever talks about it. And,
sure.
And it kind of sounds a little culty.
A little bit.
I'm not surprised that name didn't stick. So you didn't grow up adhering to any religions though.
Yeah, no, those tenets. I mean, just to me, I always kind of had my own pillars of what was moral, and I would literally imagine them as like pillars, like for the Greek statues or whatever the heck, pantheons. Sure. Like I literally would imagine it like that. Yeah. But just be good to each other. I've always thought it's a great way to model one's life. Just never really, it wasn't put upon me to begin with. Yeah. So I didn't necessarily find it. Right. I've had encounters. My uncle is very religious. I say he is the model Christian. He lives his life in the way that he would think Jesus would want him to live it. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But he does his thing. He's always had an open ear for me and a shoulder.
Yeah. The reason I bring up these kinds of conversations is because there's so much. I would just argue that there's so much paranoia now between people who believe different things in society, both religiously and politically. And from everything I've experienced as a kid, and from everybody I talk to that's like older than their 30s and 40s, there used to be a lot more like ability to talk honestly with people and to have friends that had wildly different beliefs than you. And that seems to have like kind of gone away. There's a lot of paranoia going around now. There's a lot of anger too. There's a lot of anger towards people who
Hunter, you're scaring me.
View life differently. And I'm like, can't we just talk to each other?
Sure.
I love that. I miss it. I miss people being able to communicate with each other.
Literally the coexist thing you see on people's bumper stickers, right? Yeah. With all the religions.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea.
It's a nice idea.
My religion is humanity. That's what I have the most faith in. I think that there is certainly lots of paranoia and anger in this world, and perhaps we are swirling a sort of metaphorical drain for the collapse. But you know what? If we put aside some of our extraneous things, like entertainment, sports, like some of the stuff that we don't need. I mean, we saw that during COVID. We kind of like stuff stopped. We put a lot on halt.
Yeah.
we could do that at any point tomorrow. No one do anything. No, but like we take how many years to I would rip up everything and build it back better.
Wow.
And that and
full anarchy mode you just went.
Kind of, yeah. Like but you know who could do it? 8 billion people could do anything. We could accomplish anything in 10 years. 10 years we'd make a sustainable
we sent
world.
Katy Perry to space.
Oh, well then everything's good. Why am I freaking out? Everything's fine.
I'm not about to go after Katy Perry. I don't have the energy to have qualms with celebrities.
How old were you when the California Girls music video came out?
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you when that came out.
I was in middle school.
Then I was like 3 because you old.
Oh my goodness! What? You're 4 years younger than me. When's your birthday? Your birthday's coming up.
My birthday is coming up in June. Yep.
June. Wait, is it the 24th?
26th.
26th. My little brother's is the 22nd. So.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, little brother Maione.
He's gonna come into the show.
Much
ado about nothing, that is.
Much ado about nothing. Come see the show. Casey, thank you for coming on this show.
Thanks for having me.
SilverPod, a Silverstage Theater Company podcast. Please follow the SilverPod show and support. Show the love.